time is finished, yes, we can say. So when we come here, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, kindly settle in please. We will begin in a few minutes. My name is Cecilia Gambiri, and I'm the secretary from UNESCO section. And then I step back.
You introduce yourself?
I introduce, and then I step back.
That's it. While you settle into your seats, please go to I take a seat.
Perfect.
Just sit down.
Good morning. It's our pleasure to be here, me and all group الملتقى. Thank you for Abu Dhabi visitor and heritage. And thank you for the sound system. The first one is traditional Sudanese, and now we will play some mix in between Iraq and Tanzania and Mali and the last one from Sudan. Now, before the last, I would like to say thank you for all these joining me. Started latest Saturday from Sudan, Hamid from Sudan, and Ankara Musa from Mali, Hassan from Tunisia, and me and Inshallah from Iraq. The beautiful man of, I don't forget it, Monet. He played Ego and this Ego from Sudan and from Jordan. And this onboard from Sudan from Khartoum and from Now, we play the last piece, sing the whole knowledge, and everybody will say what he think about this. And thank you for the sound system, Ramat. And of course, it's all passion for Hyde and Khalid. Thank you very much.
kanga luluya kabasa ya lele luluya kanga luluya kabasa ya lele wiya dagula kabasu sa wiya kabasa ya lele luluya kanga luluya kabasa ya lele Basuta, we are Kabasa Yadele. We are the Guli Kabasusa, we are Kabasa Yadele.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, kindly settle into your seats. We will begin in a few minutes. My name is Cecilia Barbieri. I'm from the education sector of UNESCO, and I am your co-MC for today's session.
Good morning, Your Excellencies and participants. While you settle into your seats, please note that simultaneous interpretation is ensured in all 6 UN official languages: Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian, and Spanish. My name is Yasmin Al-Rashidi from the Culture Sector in the Department of Culture and Tourism, Abu Dhabi, and I am also your co-MC for today's session.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last plenary session and closing ceremony. The framework for culture and arts education that we have been discussing over the last 2.5 days will shape the future of young people. I'm therefore very pleased to welcome once again the stage and give the floor to these young voices.
Giving it more sense, a doctor would be proud to be addressed as doctor. I am very proud to be addressed as a mother. In the honor of this beautiful culture and the cultural fact I just said, I would love to recite a letter I wrote to my son today. As cultural education, and I strongly believe this, starts within our families and at home. إلى خالد بتكمل عامك الثاني بعد شهرين جعلت.
In 2 months, you will be 2. It will be a really emotional time for me. I hope that you will remember these words forever. Today, our dear country is welcoming welcoming representatives from over 190 countries, plus many nationalities on social media. Today, all of these nationalities, all of these people are here to better understand our culture and the openness of our culture. I am today proud to speak Arabic, to talk about my culture. We must love our culture as it loves us. That is all about our belonging. It is a gift. It's something that we feel with our hearts before we see it with our eyes. Culture alongside the culture of others. We must not forget to be open, to breathe it in, and to respect the cultures of others. It's thanks to this open-mindedness and thanks to this diversity.
The world. By educating yourself about.
Don't forget the cultures of the world. By
becomes a paradise. خالد تابع فنون الأداء المختلفة من البال.
Khaled, learn ballet, learn the dance of Dalaila.
Yeah, I see all of you looking at me very surprised. You thought I was not a real dancer, eh? Well, I am, from the counts and all that. But really, as we are closing, why did I come back to this stage? I came back just to remind all of us to allow our children, to allow the kids to experience culture It's our role, it's your role to allow them to experience culture and to allow them to be the best version of themselves. And culture allows that so much. So let's please allow children to do that. Culture brought me here. Art brought me here. There are so many other kids who are talented and they need that opportunity. So let's allow them to engage with the culture, their own cultures, and for them to reach their full potential. Thank you so much.
خالد استشعر أغانيهم من الأوبرا الإيطالية.
Khaled, learn a song, learn music, learn opera, learn Colombian music.
En cumbia.
Va subiendo el pescador con su caña para vender al puerto de sus amores donde tiene su querer. Va subiendo la corriente con chinchorro y atarraya, la canoa de bareque para llegar a la playa. El pescador habla con la luna, el pescador habla con la playa. El pescador no tiene fortuna, solo su atarraya. Such is the power of art that it just made me travel to the most hidden corners of my land. I could sense the woven sticks and needs among the mud. I could hear the profound breath of the fisherman near the crashing waves of the Caribbean coast. Such is the power of arts. I could trace the subtle steps of a man I don't know. And so I called him my brother. And so the melody of the unknown made me urge to connect with the roots of a forgotten country. The fisherman's hands, weathered and bold, carried the weight of all young souls. Such power, such memory, such is the faith entrusted to your care. I felt alone, so alone, that when the fisherman came, we thought, we will now leave in your hands the future of our brothers and sisters, while the hope resides and while our dreams are drawn.
استلهم من قصايدهم من ويليام شكسبير.
The voices of poems from Shakespeare to Ahmadayev, from Chief Moomin from Ghana.
To Chief Moomin from Ghana. Always listen to the power of storytelling.
Kuriye kuriye kurijanjang kuruna pagaba kurijanjang kuriye kuriye kurijanjang kuriye kuriye kurijanjang kuruna bihi kurijanjang kuriye kuriye kurijanjang. My childhood was filled with so much color, stories, and music. Like when after Fajr or Maghrib prayers, my mom would sit us down and tell us folk stories or sing us folk songs like the one I just sang to you. Or when I went to school and our teachers would encourage us to express ourselves through art as a way of confidence and identity building. Or when I imbibed different cultures from all around the world just by watching television. My favorite Bollywood movies with Amitabh Bachchan, Akbar, Akbar, Anthony. Or watching a Michael Jackson moonwalk his way into a house to the rhythm of Billie Jean, da-da-da-da. Or indeed, all of these experiences, exposure has helped me to become the storyteller I am today, who is not only steeped in his identity and culture, but has a deeper appreciation for world and its diversity. A couple of months ago, we took a team of 60 performers to the UNESCO headquarters in Paris to stage a theatrical spectacle as part of a project we call The Mansa World, which, in partnership with UNESCO's General History of Africa, is our attempt to bring Africa's history and culture into some of the most fascinating content that you've seen, from theater to movies to music and many others. That is my legacy to my tradition and to my culture as an African. The first poem I did on the very opening ceremony, Ali, which we intend to build into a theatrical spectacle by bringing different world cultures on one stage, is my legacy as a global citizen. And so I express the duality of my existence. First, as an African. Second, as a citizen of the world. And so it gives me great honor to share the stage today with Franco, with Daniela, and with Rhoda. We instantly connected through the power of the art. Because in a world that can be so fragmented by race and ethnicities and different cultures, art is a universal language that connects us all. And so on this occasion of the UNESCO World Conference on Arts and Culture Education, we call on all governments not only to adopt the framework, but to actively implement its provisions so that every young child in the world, from Ali to Khalid, to a Franco, to a Daniela, can connect to the common language of arts and culture. Thank you. Shukran.
Shukran.
Asanteni sana.
Kuriye, kuriye, kurijanjang, kuruna baba, kurijanjang, kuriye, kuriye, kurijanjang.
Thank you very much for your performance, and most importantly, your vibrant energy, which I'm sure will inspire policies and follow-up action to this conference. I would like now to invite the co-chairs, the members of the Bureau, the Assistant Director General for Culture of UNESCO, the Assistant Director General for Education of UNESCO, to be seated on the podium.
Madam DG, esteemed ministers, distinguished guests, a very good morning to all of you. As we convene for the conclusive plenary session of the World Conference, allow me to greet Her Excellency, the UNESCO Director General, who has joined us here today, and to extend a warm welcome to the UAE and this last important conclusive day of the conference. Welcome, Madam DG. It is with profound gratitude that I extend my thanks to each and every one of you, representatives of the UNESCO Member States, associate members, and representatives from intergovernmental and non-governmental organizations. Your journeys, many from distant land, have culminated here to forge a unified vision for the advancement of our culture and education sectors. Over the course of the last 2.5 days, through 7 ministerial thematic sessions, we have exchanged experiences and perspectives, unveiling the diverse challenges and aspirations of those working at the intersection of culture, arts, and education for quality education, and more broadly, towards inclusive, sustainable development. Throughout your discussions, you have laid an emphasis on the critical role that education and culture play, together to anchor its relevance, resilience, and sustainable development grounded on the cultural capital enshrined in heritages in our countries and our heritage sites to our intangible living expressions. Our gathering has been enriched by each of your diverse insights and perspectives at local, at national, and at global levels, from institutional and expert perspectives, as well as the wide cultural education ecosystem. Of course, the side events organized in the context of the World Conference have further amplified the diversity and wealth of education and cultural resources and practices available to professionals through institutions, educators, artists, and civil societies, showcasing the creativity and effectiveness of culture and arts education for expanding knowledge, skills, values, behaviors among learners and preparing them to seize opportunities, as well as to respond to contemporary challenges, gaps, and needs. Shortly, ladies and gentlemen, we will be presenting a comprehensive report by the rapporteur and also highlights from the side events. Now, it is my honor to invite the rapporteur, Her Excellency, Ms. Eun Sil Park, President of Korean Arts and Culture Education Services, to deliver her oral report on the pivotal moments and key lessons to take away from the World Conference. Madam Rapporteur, you have the floor.
Excellencies, Ministers, Head of Delegation, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank you warmly for trusting me to present the oral report of the UNESCO World Conference on Culture and Art Education, which the government of United Arab Emirates hosted at the ADNEC Center, Abu Dhabi, from 13 February to 15 February 2024. The World Conference gathered 940 participants from 125 countries, including 85 ministers and vice ministers of education and culture, as well as numerous observers from civil society from all corners of the world. Among the observers, we had academics, professionals in education and culture, as well as artists, teachers, educators, head of educational and cultural institutions and networks, your people, civil society organizers, and the private sector. The opening plenary, jointly headed by the UNESCO Assistant Director, Generals for Education and for Culture, addressed all procedural matters, including the adoption of the rules of procedure, the Bureau, and the agenda. The conference elected 2 co-chairs, His Excellency Sheikh Shalem Al-Qasimi, Minister for Culture of the United Arab Emirates, and His Excellency Mohammed Khalifa Al Mubarak, Chairman of the Department of Culture and Tourism of Abu Dhabi, and the rapporteur, myself, Ms. Eunsil Park, President of the Korea Art and Culture Education Service, UNESCO Category 2 Center. 12 vice chairs were elected to representatives from each regional electoral group representing France, Portugal, Latvia, Romania, Colombia, Cuba, Democratic Republic of Congo, Sierra Leone, Iraq, Kuwait, Indonesia, Republic of Korea. Together, they formed a bureau which held one meeting on 14 February to take stock of progress. After the conduct of business by way of introduction, the two assistant directors generals presented the framework, its development processes, vision, and content. At the ceremony, following the welcoming statement by the host country, participants heard here two world-class musical performances by exceptionally talented artists, which gave a glimpse of the diverse and rich cultural expressions in the United Arab Emirates. Before closing, four young voices from Colombia, Ghana, Kenya, and the UAE shared their perspectives on how culture, the arts, and education resonated within them. Using different art forms, they affirmed the centrality of culture, the arts, and education to their being and society at large. Now, let me highlight the salient points of the thematic sessions, which covered 7 themes. Each theme was addressed through 2 thematic sessions held in parallel. At different moments of the day, side events were also organized, providing concrete illustrations of the possible synergies between culture and the arts education. The outcomes of the side events will be summarized in my colleague's next report. The first thematic session on equitable access to culture and arts education. Delegations agreed that culture and art education enables people to exercise their right to freely participate in cultural life and to an education that is dedicated to the full development of the human personality. It should therefore be accessible to all throughout life and without discrimination nor barriers. It is not a privilege, not a luxury, but a necessity as it is the foundation and glue of our societies. Accordingly, all barriers inhibiting full access should be removed. Culture and arts education should be made available at all ages, in all situations, including in crisis-affected contexts, with specific attention to those with disabilities. This requires opening cultural and artistic institutions to school and learning of all ages. Delegates underscored that equitable access to cultural and art education was fundamental because it fostered the knowledge, skills, values, and behaviors to build more just, sustainable, and peaceful societies. The second thematic session addressed the quality and relevant lifelong and life-wide learning through and with cultural diversity. Reflecting on initiatives like Mondia Cult and the Transforming Education Summit, speakers highlighted the global commitment to integrating cultural diversity within educational context. By embedding cultural and artistic dimensions into learning processes to contribute to the holistic development of individuals and societies. Many examples were shared to illustrate the potential of such approaches, whether delivered in formal, non-formal, or informal settings. Challenges and opportunities in art education were also considered, calling for robust policy support and an active role for UNESCO in fostering international cooperation. The call for engagement with a wide array of stakeholders, including youth, families, and the wider community, was identified as crucial for enriching educational experiences that deeply value and incorporated cultural diversity. The third thematic session on skills and shape resilient, just as a sustainable future. Participants shared national and regional experiences integrating culture and art education into education in view of achieving the SDGs. They explained how culture and art education programs could promote capacities for inclusion, imagination, and civic engagement, which are vital to address entrenched inequities, including those pertaining to knowledge and power. Discrimination, populism, hate speech, violence in all its forms, and global climate change. In this respect, delegates expressed their commitment to the framework, which offers a broad vision of the way culture and the arts can be infused into education to help ensure it is fit for purpose in the 21st century, offering countries a concrete plan to advance the commitments made at the Transforming Education Summit and generate greater prosperity. The presentation underscored a collective commitment to enhancing infrastructure for cultural exchange and advancing research for informed policymaking. The discussions also highlighted innovative strategies such as the establishment of learning hubs focused on climate action and cultural education, or the integration of traditional knowledge and storytelling in curricula to engage young minds, and STEAM approaches that incorporates art to bolster creativity and critical thinking. The first thematic session on institutionalization and valorization of culture and art education ecosystems. Many delegations underscored the importance of institutionalizing culture and art education to reap the full benefits of this approach, which is inherently transformative. This implies putting into place a variety of measures that can help sustain effective collaborations. It also involves embedding culture and art education in multi-stakeholder communities of practice, supported by institutions, mechanisms, and platforms for dialogue. Culture and art in education should also integrate various forms of local cultural and artistic expressions, thereby nurturing a dynamic learning ecosystem. For example, by turning cultural and artistic hubs and other spaces into centers of creation, transmission, and lifelong learning. The fifth thematic session on culture and arts education through digital technologies and artificial intelligence. The session highlighted both the potential risks and opportunities offered by digital technologies and AI. Digital transformation, compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic, stressed the importance of integrating AI literacy into media, and information literacy frameworks as part of lifelong learning. Concerns were also raised around the protection of data produced through human actions, which is collected, owned, and used by profit-driven institutions instead of the commons. The framework provides helpful guidance to safeguard learners, aligning culture and education strategies with the UN Charter and with international human rights and intellectual property laws. And the status of the artist was also considered key. The positive aspect of digital technologies and AI were also discussed, and in particular their potential to revolutionize access to cultural and arts education. Overcoming barriers and laying on foundation for high-quality inclusive education systems worldwide. The collective voice of the participants underscored the necessity for collaborative efforts in policymaking, program design, and the establishment of infrastructures to support the digital transformation in culture and art education. Thematic Session 6, Partners and Financing in Support of Culture and Art Education. Delegations agreed that strengthening of existing and the establishment of new partnership is fundamental for realizing objectives of the frameworks, whether between public and private entities. Partnerships should bring all relevant actors together in meaningful ways from across society, especially learners. They should be based on mutual respect and commitment to find common ground. This implies that bearers of power set aside the necessary time and resources for the partners involved to be able to develop, learn, and evaluate the project and processes together. Financing culture and art education, as articulated in the framework, requires innovative thinking and broadening funding opportunities for all stakeholders. It can mean increasing budget allocation for culture and art education ecosystems, harnessing the potentials of crowdsourcing campaigns, and monitoring the impact of culture and art education programs on learning and broader social outcomes to advocate for continued funding. The seventh thematic session on monitoring, research, and data. Monitoring, evaluation, research, and data are fundamental to the long-term programming and sustainability of culture and art education. There is a need for empirical studies across issues within culture and art education ecosystems. For example, to explore the impact of art education on cognitive, social, and emotional development. It can also be considered to investigate the most effective ways to integrate the digital technologies, including AI, to build more inclusive and equitable learning societies. Delegations agreed that this required making sure monitoring and evaluation systems were inclusive, fully participatory, continuous, and based on evidence to ensure culture and art education continuously learns from each practice to remain exciting and relevant. This marks the end of my overview of the discussions held in the thematic sessions. Before I conclude, I would like to share a personal through inspired by a line from one of the ministers. Why are we trying to justify the need for cultural and art education? We don't do the same for physics or mathematics or geography. Indeed, the positive impact of cultural and art education is well known and documented today. Many of you have come to this conference with remarkable stories of transformation. It improves learning outcomes and motivation. It develops a range of competencies, strengthens social cohesion, and much more. Yet, it is still on the margins of numerous policy agendas. My wish for us all today is that by adopting this framework, we take this knowledge out of the margin and put it at the center of our efforts, along with our priority issues in our sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor and a privilege to serve as your rapporteur. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Ms. Eun Sil Park, for the excellent report. I must acknowledge the difficulty in summarizing such rich exchange, and I commend our rapporteur for capturing the essence of our collective insights. Thank you, Your Excellency. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, while the World Conference is ministerial in nature, echoes the view of a broad variety of cultural and educational stakeholders, from intergovernmental organizations to local education and cultural institutions, from NGOs to academic circles, and to the foundations and private sector. This inclusive assembly underscores the transversal nature of culture and arts education, inviting multidisciplinary and multi-stakeholder approaches to addressing its challenges, but also its opportunities. Our next speakers will say more about this. I now turn the floor to Ms. Maral Julie Bedoyan, Manager of the Museum Education at the Louvre Abu Dhabi, and Francois Odiambo, who will deliver their report on the side events and share their reflections. You are invited to take the floor from the lectern. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Your Excellencies.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow us to present ourselves. I'm Francis Odiambo
from Cheza Cheza Dance Foundation in Kenya.
And I am Maral Jules Bedoyan from Louvre Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. It is a great honor for us to report on the side events held as part of the World Conference on Culture and Arts Education here in Abu Dhabi. We recognize this important milestone event and thank UNESCO and our hosts here in the United Arab Emirates for this occasion to come together, exchange, and network. Alongside 17 online side events associated to this World Conference, 18 side events and 2 exhibitions here in Abu Dhabi have brought together civil society organizations, academia, private businesses, and intergovernmental organizations to showcase the rich scope and perspective of culture and arts, education, and its transformative impact. The united knowledge, expertise, and engagement represented by the side events, 68 co-organizing institutions, and over 100 speakers were overwhelming. We committed to leveraging this momentum to continue their work and give life to the UNESCO Framework of Culture and Arts Education. The debates and findings of the side events very much echo the thematic issues of the World Conference and confirm their relevance. Culture and arts education has the capacity to strengthen skills that are essential to us today, and that will be even more so for generations to come. We're talking about transversal skills, such as critical thinking, empathy, as well as innovation and adaptability, and about transforming practices, learning journeys, and programming with and for the learners. The side events have underlined the importance to keep people at the center of the cultural processes as the main actors and the beneficiaries for all the actions towards a sustainable, inclusive cultural ecosystem. They called for inspired people that take responsibility for the implementation of their ideas and that are mindful of the context and new technologies which grant a greater accessibility and inclusion in educational processes. It has been proposed that the concept of learning spaces be explored beyond the conventional terms of the benefit of lifelong and life-wide learning programs to create spaces for co-learning and co-producing culture and arts together. Even more concretely, participants called for the promotion of cultural exchanges, artistic workshops, and international collaborations to enrich the educational experience and rethink educational approaches. Interventions showcase how programs implemented by the stakeholders involved in culture and arts education empower students to reach their full potential by adopting a context-based approach, embracing innovative methods of learning, and applying knowledge, connecting cultural education with professional opportunities and sustainable career paths. It was found that by focusing on career-based awareness raising, education and training, well-designed, co-created long-term strategies can break down barriers that underrepresented communities have historically faced, for example, in film and television. Special attention should be given to ethics and sustainability, aiming at empowering young creators to become catalysts for positive change in their communities and beyond, to demonstrate how arts and culture and education can be effectively integrated into sustainability initiatives to inspire and mobilize the wider community towards environmental action and promote eco-conscious behaviors on a global scale.
Naturally, there was a call for integrating culture and arts education into formal and informal educational programs, also including cultural heritage education. A call to arts education organizations to collaborate to facilitate funding, audit current partnerships, and communicate with diverse communities the value of successful arts practices. Finally, it was emphasized that investing in cultural and arts education means investing in a more enlightened, tolerant, and prosperous future for generations to come. Concurrently, mobilizing resources and ensuring long-term sustainability for the sector was proposed through a public-private partnerships and new models of cooperation. All events demonstrated the active and critical role that civil society plays in shaping our daily learning environments as well as public policies in culture and education. As one of the panel put it out, culture and arts education is a catalyst for social transformation, a pillar of peace, and a lever for innovation. Indeed, it is a subject that unites much more than culture and education, that forges links with social inclusion, professional integration, and job creation, digital transformation, as well as our well-being and resilience. That is, the holistic and inclusive development of societies and individuals. We wish to congratulate UNESCO for promoting the essential role of culture and arts education for our human development, inviting us to learn and cherish cultural and artistic expression that inspires and connects us. As a cultural and educational actors, we are committed to give voice to new framework and to inform and co-create future policies. The side events during the World Conference have been an important step, and we are looking forward to implementing the new framework together with you all. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Maral and Francis, for your comprehensive report on the side events. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we draw close to the culmination of our event, we are reminded of the rich dialogue and insights shared. And it is time to proceed to the next step, a step that we've all been waiting for, the adoption of our framework for culture and arts education, a testament to our collective vision and determination to take action. Let me recall that this adoption comes after a lengthy, inclusive, and participatory process encompassing member state-led coalitions across all regions, and 2 rounds of written consultations on the successive drafts of the framework. The UNESCO Framework for Culture and Arts Education is a joint accomplishment with you all, our member states, and diverse actors through extensive collaboration and dialogue. It embodies our shared commitment to harness the transformative power of culture and arts education for the achievement of quality education in the context of ongoing global coalition efforts to advance SDG 4. In essence, this means helping to translate the commitments made at the Transformative Education Summit in 2022 into concrete actions, and thus showing the seeds of lasting peace. It is also a potent response to the Mondiacult Declaration of Cultural Ministers 2022, fostering and safeguarding our heritage for humanity, and serves as a crucial inroads towards a flourishing culture and creative sector. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I now invite you to adopt this landmark framework by acclamation. Please. Strongly adopted. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have finished all our business at the plenary session. But before we go to the closing session, once again, our heartfelt gratitude to the UNESCO Secretariat, the joint team between the culture sector, the education sector, for their tireless efforts supporting the development of the UNESCO Framework on Culture and Arts Education, as well as their excellent work in ensuring our gathering today at the World Conference. Please give them a round of warmest applause to thank them. Of course, we cannot close without thanking the interpreters, technicians, logistical staff, without whom our smooth conduct of work at this World Conference would have not been possible. Most importantly, I would like to thank all of you once again for your invaluable contributions and for charting a course towards a brighter, more inclusive future for culture and arts education. Thank you. I would like to declare the plenary session closed and invite our Masters of Ceremony to lead the closing ceremony of the World Conference.
I now invite the co-chairs and the Bureau to join the audience. Take back your seats. And I also invite you all to give a big round of applause to thank them for their leadership and their efforts throughout these 2.5 days of conference. Thank you. Please, you can go back to your seat.
Sorry, we have received a comment from a member state, Turkey. If you can take the floor, please.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair, distinguished ministers, dear participants. I would like to thank the Secretariat for organizing this important conference on culture and art education and extend my appreciation to the United Arab Emirates for their warm hospitality. Following the Transforming Education Summit held in New York in 2022 and on the way back to the for the Future to be adopted in the Summit of the Future in September 2024, the definition of education and the expectation from the educational system has evolved. Education now encompasses all aspects and stages of life, addressing various themes to prepare individuals to face new challenges. In this context, art education and culture play a significant role in lifelong learning and the need for a framework that incorporates both, and this has become urgent. In this pursuit, organizations like UNESCO play a vital, pivotal role. UNESCO, with its commitment to building a world where the exchange of ideas flourish and recognize the transformative power of culture and art in shaping societies. By advocating for the integration of cultural elements into education, UNESCO encourages nations to invest in curricula that celebrate their unique heritage while fostering a global perspective. While the roadmap for arts education adopted in 2006 and the Seoul Agenda, goals for the development of arts education adopted in 2010 have been very important milestones, and it is obvious that further steps are necessary. Therefore, this framework will reflect a global consensus and integrated policies leading to the action for the development of a holistic approach to culture and art education. And this is crucial for social cohesion and cultural diversity. Culture and art education are essential for fostering empathy, understanding, and respect among people from different backgrounds. Incorporating culture and art into education enriches the learning experience by providing students with a holistic understanding of the world. Moreover, establishing synergies between education and culture sectors is a strategic investment in the future. Turkey supports the adoption of a UNESCO framework for culture and arts education and appreciates the efforts of the Secretariat in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Turkey. I don't see any other nameplates.
Iran. Islamic Republic of Iran.
Republic of Iran.
In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. As a delegation of the Islamic Republic of Iran, we must express our disappointment regarding our inability to attend the first day of the meeting due to the tardy issuance of our visas. This delay significantly undermined our capacity to participate meaningfully in the initial discussions and activities. We insist on the necessity for proactive measures to prevent such occurrences in the future. In addition, we would like to put on record our reservation on several references throughout the final document of the meeting, namely the UNESCO Framework for Culture and Arts Education. The Islamic Republic of Iran considers documents such as the Education 2030 Incheon Declaration and Framework for Action for the implementation of Sustainable Development Goal SDG 4, the Transforming Education Summit 2022, and the Mondial Cult 2022, and the UNESCO Framework for Culture and Arts Education as non-legally binding and voluntary documents. For this reason, the Islamic Republic of Iran does not consider itself bound by the provisions of the said documents, as some may be in contradiction with Islamic Sharia, national laws, legislations, regulations, policies, and priorities, in addition to social principles, ethical values, and cultural norms of the Iranian society. Therefore, the Islamic Republic of Iran has no legal obligation vis-à-vis the above-mentioned documents, and their implementation is subject to Islamic principles and values as well as national laws, legislations, and regulations. Moreover, in the event of a contradiction between the provisions of national law and the above-mentioned instruments, national law and legislation shall prevail. My delegation requests the Secretariat to place on record the reservation of the Islamic Republic of Iran and to duly reflect in the final report of the UNESCO World Conference on Culture and Arts Education. A written version of this statement will be provided to the Secretariat for reflection in the final report of the conference. I thank you.
Thank you. Now I would like to declare the plenary session closed and invite our Master Ceremony to close. Thank you so much.
I would like to kindly ask the co-chairs and the member of the Bureau to stay on stage for the performance.
نحيي تراث أجدادنا وتذكاره، نحيي تراث أجدادنا وتذكاره،
نحيي تراث أجدادنا وتذكاره، نحيي تراث أجدادنا
وتذكاره، عاداتنا منذ القدم وثايره، عاداتنا منذ القدم
وثايره، عاداتنا منذ القدم وثايره، عاداتنا منذ القدم
وثايره، أهل الهجن والبحر والصقايره، أهل الهجن والبحر والصقايره،
أهل الهجن والبحر والصقايره، أهل الهجن والبحر
والصقايره، ثلاث كل عالي مقدايره، ثلاث كل عالي مقدايره،
ثلاث كل عالي مقدايره، ثلاث كل عالي
مقدايره،
What we just witnessed together is a symbolic pledge, a pledge in the form of al-Taghruda, a traditional Bedouin chant form inscribed on the representative list of the intangible heritage of humanity. It is a promise through simple, repeated lines. We are a people of the camel, a people of the sea, and a people of the falcon. We keep our ancestors' heritage alive. We keep their memory alive. A pledge of guardianship and transmission to future generations. A pledge through this simple demonstration of al-Sadu, traditional weaving. A weaving heritage that has been inscribed on the list of intangible cultural heritage in need of our urgent safeguarding. A pledge of collaboration and unity through culture represented by the magnificent falcon. As you may know, falconry has been inscribed by 24 countries jointly, including the United Arab Emirates, on the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage in 2021. This performance, accompanying the adoption of the UNESCO Framework for Culture and Arts Education, symbolizes the passing of the knowledge and tradition from one generation to another, as well as the nurturing of the harmonious relationships between humans and nature through culture and arts education. Thank you very much once again for this fantastic performance. And congratulations on the adoption of the framework for culture and arts education. Before we part ways, let us invite our honorable hosts to give closing remarks. I'd first like to invite His Excellency Mohammed Khalifa al-Mubarak, Chairman of the Department of Culture and Tourism, Abu Dhabi, to come to the lectern for his closing remarks.
Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Director General of UNESCO, Your Excellencies, distinguished
DG, ladies and gentlemen.
Several days ago, we came together, and I want to thank each and every one of you, because in coming together, we truly broadcasted the essence of culture. We got to know each other a little bit more. We understood each other a little bit more. We learned from each other. I truly cherish the moments I've had with many of the ministers from all over the world. It gave me a glimpse of understanding about our globe, and more importantly, it gave me a glimpse of hope. Because collectively, unified, we are all here for a greater solution, for a greater good, to make sure each and every citizen of this world gets cultural education, no matter what their background is, no matter what their race, no matter what their demographic. This is the promise that we are promising the world, and it's the promise we have to hold close to our heart and make it happen. We also said this conference is going to be a conference of action, not just words. And I want to thank you all that our actions will speak much louder than the words. So it's truly been an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to welcome you all here in Abu Dhabi, to host a conference which is the first in history of UNESCO. Never before have so many ministers of education and culture from around the world gathered in one venue to discuss how culture and education sectors can and should work more closely together. Conferences like these are not only memorable, because of their outcomes, but also because of the process. We have had constructive dialogue, learning and exchanging about exciting programs and initiatives around the world to inspire, but also to ensure commitment to today's outcomes. Cultural education is essential for our well-being, for building peace and understanding, for ensuring our resilience to change. Many of us have used the word youth. We've said it numerous times because it's a belief that this world belongs to youth. We are passing from one generation to the other. Our job is to pass a better world than the world we are in right now. That is our job. Today marks a new joint vision and commitment to culture and arts education that will contribute to UNESCO's mission and our shared responsibility to our youth and future generations. Today, we have committed to implementing a framework that aims to give the opportunities and tools to the generation of tomorrow to be better advocates and stewards of culture. Guarantees that current and next generations are given access to lifelong education as a process that is deeply grounded on culture and identity. Recognizes that culture and the arts play a vital role in the flourishing of human imagination, creativity, and self-expression, expanding the possibilities of creation while advancing social and economic prospects for all learners. And it aims to inspire new pathways for innovation that will equip learners of all ages with the skills they need today to flourish. That's what we want, for them to flourish. Through our coming together here in Abu Dhabi, we have reaffirmed our commitment to creating synergies and more integrated and systematic cooperation across culture and education locally, regionally, and globally. Several days ago, I stood here and spoke about outcomes, and I spoke about actions. And I'm very happy and honored to be standing in front of you again today to tell you a little bit about the outcomes and the actions that will happen after this conference. We have discussed tangible outcomes with our colleagues from UNESCO. Together with UNESCO and the UAE Ministry of Culture and all concerned UAE entities, we will discuss mechanisms and methodologies to springboard and support the implementation of UNESCO's framework. This implementation plan will focus on 3 key axes. Number 1, establishing a grant program that will annually recognize and highlight and financially reward good practices of cultural and/or educational institutions related to the implementation of this framework. Secondly, a prompt and an encouragement, a holistic development approach through culture and arts education. This is empowering minds, connecting schools. UNESCO's Associated School Network, which counts over 12,000 schools across all regions, will be used as a model to implement the newly adopted framework. And 3, lastly, the third axis will focus on Africa. Africa is one of UNESCO's global priorities, and as such, UNESCO and its partners will develop a stronger and better targeted strategy, including training and capacity building, experts visits, knowledge sharing, and technical and vocational education and training. Today, ladies and gentlemen, the actual work starts in terms of implementation, and everyone needs to contribute. Consider Abu Dhabi as a place that wants to collaborate. Reach out to us. We all have a vision for this greater goal. We're all going to come together hand by hand to accomplish this goal. Today, our journey will start to implement the framework. I commit to you that I and my team will make this our priority. I join my brother, the Minister of Culture in the UAE, Sheikh Salim, in thanking all of those who have made this happen, and to UNESCO for entrusting us with the responsibility to host this Congress. Thank you to the teams from UNESCO, the Ministry of Culture, the Department of Culture and Tourism Abu Dhabi, the performers, the poets who inspired us, and all of you who joined us over the last 3 days. Lastly, I hope that all conference participants got a true sense of our hospitality. Like I said before, Abu Dhabi is your second home, and we look forward to welcome you again here. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I would now like to invite His Excellency Sheikh Salim Al-Qasimi, Minister of Culture in the UAE, to come to the lectern for his closing remarks.
Your Excellency, Madam Director General of UNESCO, Excellencies, esteemed delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. As Minister of Culture of the United Arab Emirates, I wish to thank the Director General of UNESCO for convening this landmark occasion, of which the United Arab Emirates have been honored to host. I join with the words articulated by my dear colleague, His Excellency Mohammed Al Mubarak, in congratulating you for the adoption of the UNESCO Framework for Culture and Arts Education. This occasion comes a pivotal juncture of our time. Over the past few days, this has been made clear. You have underlined the pertinence and indeed the urgency of this framework that will enable our current and future learners to thrive. This is a vision that we all share collectively. Today marks a milestone in the history of culture and arts education ecosystem, where the decisions we make can guide the path for future generations to come. I am very confident that we can move forward with these aspirations together. However, the adoption of the framework is not merely a testament to our shared values, but a source of inspiration that guides us together a future where culture and arts education are intrinsic and valued part of our societies. Both sectors help us understand one another, the world around us, as well as ourselves. It holds the promise of a world where education transcends boundaries, where culture is not just preserved, but thrives through the hearts, through the minds of our youth. It envisions an ecosystem where every child and adult can access the transformative power of arts and culture, empathy, and creativity. Culture has the power to shape our futures, but to make it meaningful and lasting, it depends on whether we commit to rethink our policies and systems, to take a necessary step forward into that agenda. What remains clear is the pertinent need to ensure that our policies and strategies not only take into account the way the world looks today, but more importantly, how it would look tomorrow. Many themes have been discussed, including one of the most urgent facing planet today being the climate crisis, where culture and arts education will be vital in raising awareness and inspiring action. In this context, COP28 saw the launch of the Group of Friends for Culture-Based Climate Action last year. We thank all member states who have joined thus far and continue to extend an open invitation for those interested. The UAE firmly believes in the power of culture and arts as a catalyst for social change, for bridging diversion, and for building a world where understanding and peace prevail other diversions. Our commitment to this belief is unwavering and evident by our commitment to invest in cultural institutions, education, and international collaborations. As my co-chair, His Excellency Mohammed Al-Mubarak mentioned, in the past few days, the UAE Ministry of Culture and the Department of Culture and Tourism Abu Dhabi have begun exploring tangible outcomes with our colleagues from UNESCO, an implementation plan envisioned to be explored, focusing on 3 main areas. The grants that His Excellency mentioned, a holistic development through culture and arts education on empowering minds, connecting schools, involving UNESCO-associated schools networks around the world. Third, the focus on Africa outlined by His Excellency. The path to realizing a vision for culture and arts education is not one that we can walk alone. It requires a collective effort, a shared dedication to implementing the framework across all corners of the globe. It demands that we, as cultural and education ministers, lead by example, championing policies and initiatives that embed culture and arts deeply within our education systems. Let us take a moment to commit to action, to move beyond words to the tangible implementation of the framework in our respective countries. Let us pledge to work together, to share best practices, resources, and expertise, fostering a global community that united in its diversity and strength. As we look forward to the future, let us remember the responsibility we bear to our children and the future generations to come. Together, we have the power to cultivate a world rich in cultural understanding and appreciation, a world where education empowers and unites. In closing, I appeal to each and every one of you, esteemed ministers, dedicated delegates, to join us in this noble endeavor. Let us harness the transformative power of culture and arts education, turning the ideas of the framework into reality for every nation, every community, and every individual. This is only the beginning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And now, I'm pleased to invite Her Excellency Noura bint Mohammed Al-Kaabi, Minister of State, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, United Arab Emirates, to come to the stage for her closing remarks.
Hello everyone. My remarks will be in Arabic, so I'll give you a moment to adjust your headsets. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
May the mercy of God be with you. Excellencies, Ojo Azuli, Director General of UNESCO, Minister of Culture, Halifa Al-Hamad, Director of the Department of Culture and of Tourism of Abu Dhabi. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled to welcome you here to Abu Dhabi, and I'd like to thank the Directorate of Culture and Tourism of Abu Dhabi and UNESCO for the efforts put into the success making this conference a success. This framework is the fruit of collaboration between all member states of UNESCO. Thanks to the support of UNESCO, it was made possible. It's also the fruit of international collaboration. Many experts from all member states were involved as well. This has strengthened partnerships and collaboration between teachers, stakeholders and organizations. And I believe that this will make it applicable in the future to arts and culture education. Our friend from Ghana, you recalled us of the importance of culture and learning about the culture of others, because that bolsters respect for cultural diversity. Excellencies, over these 3 days during this conference, we have talked about the importance of education, and namely culture and arts education, in strengthening creativity, but also critical thinking, and its contribution to the professional development of learners and teachers. We've also talked about how culture and arts can be a vehicle for development for all, and I'd like to thank the Excellencies, Ministers of Culture and Arts and Education, arts stakeholders and players, all participants, for being here and for having participated in the debates. I'd like to thank those that took part in the workshops, in the side events, the thematic discussions. We really saw lots of expertise in terms of concrete measures to be implemented in the field of arts and culture education. We must each learn from one another. Adopting this framework is the beginning of new initiatives, new measures, in order to genuinely achieve outcomes that will benefit the arts and culture sector, but also other sectors and industries, the economy. We want to bolster our cooperation with member states and all stakeholders to scale up opportunities that arts and culture and the creative industries provide. We know that culture promotes cohesion between societies and internationally as well. We are ready to share best practices and our expertise. So now, with the adoption of this framework, we need to now move on to its implementation and make it a reality, because it will have a true bearing on development in our countries, in education, but also for creating citizens that will be equipped with the creativity, the artistic and intellectual capabilities to take part in sustainable development. Lifelong learning and using technologies will also be a part of that. We'd like to thank UNESCO for all of the efforts that have been made, its tireless efforts put to reinforcing our collaboration and our mutual understanding to the service of peace and prosperity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is now my great pleasure to invite the Director General of UNESCO, Ms. Audrey Azoulay, to come to the stage and take the floor.
Salam alaikum. Madame la Ministre.
Madam Minister of State, Excellency Nour El-Khabi, Minister of Culture of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Salem Al-Qasimi, Chairman of the Department of Culture and Tourism of Abu Dhabi, His Excellency Mohammed Al-Bourabarak, Ministers of Culture and Education, members of the Bureau, Madam Rapporteur, President of the General Conference of UNESCO, dear friends. First of all, I would say in a word, well done, congratulations to you all for adopting the new global UNESCO framework, which is indeed a turning point in strengthening education for and through art. I wish to thank more than 125 ministers of 125 countries present here, and who come both from the Culture and Education Ministry. This cooperation, as we know, is never easy between culture and education. Each person has his and her concerns and priorities, and yet by working together, through culture and education, we can do even more. It is a vision of society which is conveyed through this cooperation between culture and education, and in particular this joint commitment, which is the prerequisite for the effective implementation in your countries of the public policy, whose framework you have defined here collectively. This is a landmark that we share for the international community, which bears the promise of facilitation between our respective countries. I also wish to commend the representatives of the academic world, of civil society, youth representatives, those wonderful voices that we heard concluding the plenary session with its wonderful message of universality. And I would wish to thank in particular the United Arab Emirates, which have yet again shown their commitment to culture education, to handing this down, and to the UNESCO mandate. We've had the illustration through the wonderful tradition of falconry, of what it is to have a heritage that has been handed down over thousands of years. And I also want to emphasize to what extent the cooperation between UNESCO and the United Arab Emirates is exemplary, first of all, because you yourselves at national level, through your investment in culture, education, no longer needs to be proven. It is shown through your policies and institutions in your country. The Berkeley Center, which is a pool, a breeding ground for talent, and what is happening here in Abu Dhabi itself, which is a UNESCO creative city, with the through which we organize very interesting culture summits, and the cooperation between UNESCO and the Emirates has also borne fruit outside of the country, in particular in Iraq, in Mosul, where together with the Iraqi authorities and our other partners, we have waged a major campaign in order to keep the spirit of Mosul alive. We're in the final stages here with the restoration, the rebuilding of churches, the rebuilding of the historic houses, renovated classrooms, and very soon the Al-Khadba minaret of the Al-Nouri Mosque, which once again will be leaning in the sky. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, strengthening arts education through the arts, this is the goal that has brought us together here, and much remains to be done for what is in actual fact the culture of peace. Of course, arts education is part and parcel of school curricula in most countries, but all too often it is fragmented. It's spread between different subjects. It's on the periphery. It's not at the heart of the teaching program. And yet UNESCO's surveys show this, the full benefit of arts education and through arts in order to gain in emotional intelligence, in creativity, in critical thinking, to improve broadly academic results, to improve the mental health of young people. And you have recalled during your debates to what extent it was essential in the all too numerous conflict zones. We've seen this with the pilot project for pupils in Odessa in Ukraine. And at the level of society in general, it facilitates open-mindedness, respect for others, knowing one's heritage, enables us to go more easily to that of others and to be part of the modern era. In a fragmented world, a divided world, arts education can be one of those threads that brings us together. And yet, this is a very tenuous thread. If it is not preserved carefully, it can be broken by those who uphold a static heritage, who have a single vision, by those who are also highly critical of the difference of art. And by adopting this new framework, it is a certain approach, an idea, a vision of culture, education, society that you have upheld. This new framework did not start from scratch. There were consultations, there was a very solid base that was laid in Lisbon in 2006, in Seoul in 2010, and we had to nonetheless renew our international doctrine because the world has changed. Artistic, cultural practices have been transformed through the combined impact of the digital revolution, artificial intelligence, which require that we think and better protect creators' rights. This was one of the conclusions of the Mondical 2022 summit.
We have identified together several key principles that are reflected in the framework that you have just adopted. All of them are important, but the adoption of this new framework is not an end as in itself. Its orientation must be translated, as you have emphasized, into tangible action in public policies. And to support this process and this message that you will bring back to your capitals, UNESCO stands ready to support you, to mobilize all our normative, operational, and scientific expertise that draws on the outcome of academic research, thanks notably to our university chairs, but also operational, like we have been implementing in Mosul, that I mentioned, but also in Lebanon, Argentina, Tanzania, in Chile, and in many other parts of the world, building on our UNESCO network of associated schools, like recently, for instance, in Greece. And I would like to commend the announcement made artificial intelligence. For all this, for our young people, we need to support them. We need to bring them ideas of critical thinking, but also of creativity, to imagine different futures, alternative futures, and also a culture of peace, of respect, of knowing of their own identity, to be open to the one of the others. This is what I think this framework means. Thank you very much, and congratulations. Shukran.
Thank you very much, Director General, for your inspiring closing remarks. We have now reached the end of our conference. Your hosts have graciously organized a trip to Louvre Museum Abu Dhabi, which will be after lunch this afternoon. But now, I would like to invite all those seated in the front 2 rows to join the stage for the closing ceremonial photo. Our ushers will escort you to the stage and assist you to find your positions. Thank you, and safe travels to all.